saw the 0-calorie peanut butter label. I'm like, I have a video on it. I actually did pretty well on TikTok when I posted it. It was about a year ago now. I posted it in the parking lot of my friend's apartment complex. I was like, I just picked up a snack before we started hanging out. And I'm like, before I head in, guys, I'm going to make this video because I need to see what this is about. And I recorded it, and it was, I literally, there's a dumpster.
What can you make 0-calorie peanut butter out of? Like, what do they make it out of? Do you know?
Horse hooves. Gorilla feces.
Welcome to the Big Fellas Podcast. I am Mike Pridgeon, and this is my friend and co-conspirator, Noah Tanner, the biggest fella, and we are the Big Fellas of the Big Fellas Podcast. And we're currently live on Instagram. We usually go live on Instagram. We don't have a schedule for this. It just happens on Wednesdays. So if you keep your eyes attached to your screen for the entirety of Wednesday, you might catch us and you might get to have your question answered. If you don't want to do that, you can just go to YouTube. Go to youtube.com and go to the Big Fellas Podcast YouTube channel, which is, I think it's just your channel, right?
We're probably going to change the name of the YouTube channel very soon. Right now, it's just at Big Fella Fitness on YouTube. Overall general theme of today's episode, we're going over what life looks after weight loss, how life looks after weight loss. What is it supposed to be like? You guys asked some killer questions, and that's what I was doing while Mike was giving us a start and introducing us. You guys on Instagram Live absolutely bombarded me with like 17 questions, all like at the same perma-second, so I had to write them all down and keep my stuff organized. So today, we're going to be answering your guys' questions that are also applicable to keeping the weight off, which is the hard part for a lot of people. Mike, let's start by talking about how long you've kept your weight off and how you've done it and any struggles you felt. With that, I'll do the same, and then we can dive into questions.
At this point now, I've kept my weight off for a number of years. I honestly couldn't even tell you how long, because looking back, there wasn't like a specific time where it happened. There was an idea. Oh,
I was doing that for Bryson.
I'm holding my thing.
I see Bryson. I need to give him some love.
Oh, okay. Bryson. Wonderful. Yeah, I've kept my weight off for a number of years now, but normally what ends up happening after weight loss, let's start here, is weight gain. That's kind of the way that we think about weight, is just it's either going up or it's going down. There's a third secret thing: weight maintenance. It's not as exciting. Eventually the compliments stop coming in because you just look like that. But when I introduce myself, I'll often say, hi, I'm Mike. I lost 110 pounds, but I'm most proud of keeping that weight off. What is keeping the weight off? Maintenance. That's what we're talking about today.
Beautiful.
So what about you? How long have you kept the weight off? Because I couldn't give you a number.
Yeah, I had like some metric. I don't even know when I technically count myself as like quote unquote done. It happened sometime at the very beginning of 2021. So we'll just say 3 years and just call it 3 years. I'd say about 3 years of keeping the weight off. I'd say you're roughly around the same-ish, 2-3 years probably for you too. So it hasn't been a short time, because sometimes I'll see creators who just lost their weight talking like they've been maintaining this for a while. And I don't want to remove anything from their situation. I don't want to invalidate their journeys in any way, but also like there's different beasts that pop up as you can maintain for a while, and you can see yourself kind of creep back into positive or negative habits if you're not careful. So yeah, it's been about 3 years for me. And honestly, it hasn't been too much of a struggle. A big part of that for me has been having other goals to shoot for, and that has been evolving a ton. So we'll talk more about that later, because it's always fun to have something to work towards, and it's also fun to change what those things are. So let's hop into some really interesting questions today. First things first, there's a nice little lighthearted question that I have a very basic, straightforward answer to. Low-calorie dressings or sauces for a weight loss journey. Some of my favorite low-calorie dressings that have helped me lose the weight and keep it off, and I'm pretty sure Mike uses some of these same ones. Bolthouse Farms for Caesar dressing, ranch dressing, blue cheese dressing, any basic salad dressing that's usually higher in calorie. Phenomenal. They're yogurt based, but they taste incredible. And then for other type of sauces, are you familiar with Mr. G. Hughes, Mike?
I am familiar with G. Hughes.
Are you a fan of Mr. G. Hughes?
I am a fan of Mr. G. Hughes. I think he's a pretty swell, upstanding guy.
He makes some slapping barbecue sauce for a very, very low calorie. So those are our two recommendations, I would say, primarily. There's other brands out there too that I'm sure are fine.
Can I give one to maybe avoid?
Yes, please.
Walden Farms.
Oh, yeah. Walden Farms is fucking terrible. Yes, Walden Farms is garbage.
You had compared their jelly to battery acid once
It
a
was
long time
it was
ago.
peanut butter. It was supposed to be peanut
So
butter.
is peanut butter.
And it tasted like battery acid in a dumpster covered. I'm going to stop myself.
It was so they're not a sponsor. And if they
No,
want
no,
if they
no,
want to
no.
sponsor,
I'm not going to. I was just going to say some bad words and I don't want to. That's all.
I'll say the words. It's flippin' terrible. Yeah, it's really bad. I got a jelly from them once, and it touted being 0 calories, and it was also 0 enjoyment. That was not on the label, though.
There we go. Ka-chow.
Very bad.
One thing I will say, though, I just added a barbecue chicken bacon. No, excuse me. A chicken bacon ranch pizza to my recipes for my clients. One of my
What?
best friends, Greg, actually made it, and I stole it from him. Shout out, Greggy boy. He gave me a slice. It was absolutely excellent. And for his base, he actually used Walden Farms Ranch.
And it worked.
And it wasn't bad. But again, I only had one slice, and it wasn't warmed up or anything. I don't know how much he used. I would probably use Bolthouse Farms just because I like that brand way better. Because I think Walden Farms' problem is when they started going away from just sugar-free syrup, things went downhill. Like,
is their sugar-free syrup better?
Oh, I'm sure. I think that's what
Okay.
they started out with like more sweet stuff like sugar-free syrup, sugar-free chocolate syrup, stuff like that. That I can get behind. That I'm sure tastes normal. But then when they started diving into like the marshmallow fluff, the peanut butter, other condiments, okay, you lost me, man. I saw the 0-calorie peanut butter label. I'm like, I have a video on it. Actually did pretty well on TikTok when I posted it. It was about a year ago now. I posted it in the parking lot of my friend's apartment complex. I was like, I just picked up a snack before we started hanging out. And I'm like, before I head in, guys, I'm going to make this video because I need to see what this is about. And I recorded it, and it was. I literally, there was a dumpster.
What can you make 0-calorie peanut butter out of? Like, what do they make it out of? Do you know?
Horse hooves. Gorilla feces. I don't know.
I want to try it now. I know it's not going to be good, but I'm just curious. That's not the way to maintain. You try to survive off of Walden Farms, you're going to go straight back to all the regular stuff that you wanted, and you're going to eat it in excess because you'll miss it.
Exactly. Now, I wanted to start with that one just to set the tone for the night, but there's actually two of these other questions are actually phenomenal to leeway us into this maintenance conversation. One of them is actually something that really pertains to you, Mike.
Oh.
I couldn't catch the exact first part of his question, but somebody asked, I'm having trouble hitting my macros on a bulk, hitting his calories on a bulk. Do you have any high calorie food recommendations? Because he finds his appetite very, very small. And I didn't see all of the backstory, but essentially he was asking for some high calorie food recommendations for those that don't necessarily have the biggest appetite and still want to, maybe they have lost the weight and they're looking for ways to add a few extra calories, a little extra protein into their diet. Mike is on a bulk, if you don't know. So what would you recommend to him or her?
No, it doesn't look like I'm on a bulk, but get your natural chunky peanut butter. Get that in there. It's a lifesaver. It'll add an extra 200 calories wherever you need it, and it's always delicious, and it doesn't take up a whole lot of space. Oats are always really good.
Like 400.
Oh, yeah. Well, I always measure mine out. So it's like I know what I'm getting. By the way, if you're not measuring your food, you're not measuring your calories. If you don't have a food scale, you're not doing it. You can still be in a calorie deficit. You can still be, you just can't, you're not tracking calories if you're not using a food scale. It's not possible.
We'll probably have an episode coming out soon on the exact best practices for food scales and food labels.
I'm not saying you can't be in a deficit. It's just you're not going to be able to dial it in. Anyway, that all being said, peanut butter is a good one. I have my oats every day. You just get to get bigger. You get to have bigger meals too. That's another thing. My dinner that I have every night, 700 calories. There's real cheese in there, not skimping on the cheese. Like, I like it. I've got gluten-free rice and quinoa pasta that I have like a serving and a half, sometimes 2 servings of, and that alone is almost 400 calories. And it's like, it's all good stuff. It's not coming from, not that grains are bad or anything, or like wheat is bad, but it gives you that extra plant protein that I kind of struggle with because I'm not getting a bunch of vegetables in my diet. Well, not that those are vegetables, those are grains. Never mind. Ignore me completely. I'm putting on muscle though. Yeah.
He's getting
I was
huge.
like, yeah, don't listen to me for nutrition advice. I'm more so on the calories, and I'm getting my protein in check and everything. But other than that, don't listen to me. Now is going to be a good time. Maybe if there were some snacks that you were staying away from. I'm always having a couple Oreos every day. Those will add up pretty quickly. Don't bulk on Oreos, but I tend to have 2 or 3 of them a day because I like them and I've got the room for them. But ultimately, it's just going to be like, don't load it. There are some people that'll tell you to put like avocado oil in your shakes. Don't do that.
Mm,
Please don't do
that's
that.
only if you're like a severe hard gainer. Like if you are
Yeah.
like 110 pounds soaking wet and you are just trying to put anything on, that's when the drastic measures come out. One thing I will also add to the weight gain section is being a little bit more liberal with the butters, oils, and sauces during the cooking process, and like drizzling a little extra something something on the top. Like sometimes when people make some baked vegetables, drizzle a little extra olive oil over top. Or something that I'm cutting right now. I am losing weight right now. I am trying to get leaner. But good golly, great googly moogly is just absolutely insane. I bake chicken thighs, skin on, bone in. I eat them like a fucking caveman. But I drizzle honey over top of the chicken thighs. It is worth every extra calorie. Good lord. It is absolutely
Damn.
delicious because
That
you
sounds
got the
good.
sweet and the salty. Whew, absolutely incredible. So if you want to add just a few extra calories here and there, adding honey on some things, peanut butter on certain things, those are natural sources of very easy calories. Avocado to certain things, very healthy fat source, but pretty packed with calories if you use like, a nice whole avocado. So all good sources of like nice nutrient dense calories that will help you add up without feeling like you're jumping out over the thing. But
Oh yeah, just switching from chicken breast to chicken thighs can be like you just mentioned that
yeah,
before. Like that'll add extra calories too.
reverse food
Um,
swaps.
yeah, foods. Yeah, we got to get
Reverse food
reverse food swaps. We got to get a bulking list.
Oh my
I could
god.
use that myself.
Yeah, yeah, no kidding. That
Mm.
that list took me an ungodly amount of time. So now let's go a little bit more into the maintenance conversation with I think this is a good way to start. Another question was somebody talked about how they had lost 80 to 100 pounds themselves, and they talked about feeling their body naturally creeping back up to a base weight where their body just feels a natural tendency to just hang out at that body weight. And I see a lot of that where people say like, "Oh, my body's meant to stay at this weight level," and she said that she gained 10 to 15 to 20 pounds through just. She didn't put too much context into it, but she said she had gained about 20 pounds, and she's asking us if we've had experience where should we be at a base weight or do we feel stuck at a certain weight where our body's naturally just a little bit too light. And I think that's a really good conversation when we talk about
Yes.
once you lose the weight, where should we go after? Where should we stay? And I think a lot of that comes down to what your goals are. So, what do you feel about the whole like natural weight, base weight conversation?
Takes a lot of trial and error and error and error and error again. And I didn't really know what my number was. I had taken a couple of like different BMI charts and I had settled around 165. And that was just kind of the number that I aimed for many years. In the summer of 22, I overshot it when I was losing weight again. And I went underweight and I was not healthy. It was a very bad time. I that's when I started to like try to add on real healthy weight. So now I am 5 pounds above what that goal weight was for years. I'm 170 now, and I will never be lower than that, providing nothing bad happens to me. So, your healthy weight is going to change from time to time. Even just as you get older and your body changes, your base weight is going to be different. It's something that you need to be open to reevaluating as time goes on.
Yeah, and I think that's really a question dictated around scale weight. If you
Mm.
don't have a scale, then you're not even going to be asking that question. If you don't have a scale, it's going to be you're just maintaining a certain level. It also depends on what your goals are after. I always tell people when they're done with the journey, always have some sort of physical goal to be shooting towards, whether that's training for some sort of event, some sort of race, body composition thing, a strength goal, a challenge, anything. It could literally be anything. But having something to work towards allows you to keep that accountability level high. And just by doing that, you will see your body composition change to better fit that goal. After you're done losing the weight, if you decide that you want to get really good at like swimming, you'll probably notice removing the scale entirely, your physique will slowly change to get you better at swimming because you're training to become a better swimmer. You're doing the exercises to get better at swimming. You are swimming more often. So your body composition will change to help you become a better swimmer assuming your diet and training reflects that. So kind of removing from the scale weight in general, if you have a goal to continue to work towards after you hit your goal weight, that's the best part. That is going to remove any stress about coming to a baseline like, oh, I went down to 180, but my body naturally should hang out at like 200. I feel like I have to be at 200. There is such a thing as being underweight. Both Mike and I have experienced it. But at the same time, we weren't there for that long. And just because the scale is going up does not mean you are gaining fat. That's another thing. It's all entirely based around body composition. Like there's a good picture I show to my clients in one of my client documents of me at 215 pounds. I'm about 215 right now as well. I look completely different. I look like a completely different person. I have more muscle and less fat at the same body weight. That's ultimately what it matters. So remove some of the scale stigma and just have a goal to shoot towards. I mean, I tell some of my clients just to stop weighing themselves unless they see something like completely going off the rails. Like, why is there a need to weigh yourself anymore? You've already hit your goal and you're living your lifestyle.
I've got two pictures, both at 165 pounds, which was the goal weight for many years. And I took a picture the first time because I hit my goal weight, and I took a picture the second time just because it was a progress picture. But the body composition between those two pictures is incredibly different. In one, I'm like kind of doughy. There's no muscle mass there. I've lost weight. Like I'm holding my pants out to show you that my stomach has receded, but otherwise, like there's nothing spectacular compared to the second picture where there's a lot of muscle, and I'm the same weight in both of them.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing that people should try to kind of shift towards. And if you're doing the weight loss thing the right way, when you're done, you hit your goal. Oh, I'm X amount of weight. I'm 180. I'm 160. I'm this weight. I fit into these pants. Whatever the goal is, transitioning away from the scale and more towards the physical wins is going to be a huge help in the maintenance journey. Like, Mike, what's something that you're working towards right now physically as a personal fitness goal in the last couple months? Like, what's something you're working towards?
I am trying to fill out a shirt in a way that feels good, and I'm doing it. My
Perfect.
shirts were a little bit loose, and I'm starting to fill them out with muscle. And it's good to watch them as I go back because I have just a bunch of different colors. I have a bunch of black shirts, as you know, and then I've got a bunch of different colors of this same brand and size of shirt. So I know, just like historically, if I look back and see how it fits, it's the same shirt. And I know what it's like. Like as I grow, that I'm filling it out a little bit more. I saw in two of the stories that I was mentioned in yesterday, one after the next, I'm sitting in my car wearing a similar shirt to this. And the first one was November, and it's kind of loose. And then it was fast forward to yesterday, and you can see that the shirt has gotten physically tighter. And I don't feel that in my head. I don't feel that way. I'm still like, I haven't gained anything, but the proof is there. I am so painfully consistent in my clothing choices that I can physically see my shirts getting smaller on my body. So, and it's not like they're all shrinking, because I could put them all on and they'll do the same thing. And I just ordered some new ones. They just came in from Walmart, so I can put those on and see that they'll also be the same size on me.
Absolutely. For me, my goal recently, it hasn't always been this way. I've actually had a very traditional bodybuilding style goals since I lost the weight because I just got really into that lifestyle. It was a lot of bulking and cutting and addressing, the relationship with food a little bit more and just cycling through bulking and cutting cycles. And now, like these last 3-4 months, I've taken more of the athletics based approach as as I'm cutting, this has really complemented things. A lot of my training has my goals have shifted towards I really want to get good at running. I found out these last couple years that I
Oh,
really enjoyed long distance running. Long distance
okay.
being like a couple miles. I'm not a fucking marathon runner. Okay, pause. Okay, I used to be 300 fucking pounds. That's long distance for me. Okay. However, I've really enjoyed it, and I play basketball every single week. I want to get better at basketball, and I want to have just overall more explosiveness with my training. I want to have more core stability, all those different things. That's not a goal I used to have, but it's shifted my training. It's something I'm working towards. And I took some progress photos today, and I literally wrote out in my list while I took those progress. I wrote a list and put it on the progress photo just for myself. And I said, I am noticing significant progress in these muscle groups and in these categories. And I wrote them all down. I'm like, okay, well, this shit's fucking working. You know, like I wanted to grow these muscle groups. For if you're curious, it's my shoulders and my butt. And yes, they are both growing. BBL coming soon. And then it was increased cardio endurance. I'm outrunning most of my friends when I run with them now, which is very strange, being the former fat kid they went to school with. And I did a Turkish get up with a 60-pound dumbbell for the first time ever today. So that was pretty fucking sick.
Wow, I don't even know what that is.
You'll
So
see it on my story on Instagram. It's fucking hard.
I'm interested to see.
Yes, but the point of what
That's
Mike and I are saying, I think, is having something to shoot for once the goal is initially reached will keep you on the journey of improvement. No, the improvement
yes.
just looks a little bit different. The improvement just looks a little not funky, but it looks just different. It's not good, it's not bad.
Mhm.
It's just a different goal. But that will keep you in the same mindset of self-improvement for myself and self-love, because that's what ultimately we're doing here. That's why we're here.
I'm trying to get better with pull-ups. That's another thing that I've got going right now.
Yeah.
So
Bodyweight exercises.
I just like don't have that strength, and I can do a few of them. I can do like 7 to 9 of them, but I'd like to be able to
Traditional
do more.
pull-ups?
Yeah,
Okay, because chin-ups are usually a lot easier for me, so I can do a lot more chin-ups than I can
Mhm.
pull-ups.
I'm trying to do my back. Like I can look at my biceps and they'll grow. It's everything else I have trouble with.
Mm-hmm.
So like especially my chest. Not that pull-ups are helping with the chest, but like that's just another thing that I want to get done. And I'm doing the extra volume, and I am starting to see a little bit of definition showing up. I'm never gonna have like a big chest or anything that's acceptable. It's always
Shut
gonna
the
be
fuck up.
small.
That's a limiting
But
belief.
like,
Stop that shit right now.
well, it's not gonna stop me from trying. I'm always going to try as if it was gonna happen anyway. Like that motivation is still there because if I don't try at all, it's never gonna happen. So I'm gonna keep doing it. And I'm going to keep trying different things, and I'm going to keep trying every day. And if something does happen, that's fantastic.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
So, somebody asked in the chat, difference between chin-ups and pull-ups. Literally the only difference is your hand placement. Overhand is pull-ups, comes in a little bit wider. Chin-ups are a little bit more narrow with an underhand grip, but they work the same muscles. If you do chin-ups, it's biasing the biceps a little bit more. But at the end of the day, they're both working your biceps. They're both working your back mostly. It helps you just get a lot stronger. One of the best exercises you can ever do, period. So,
With the chin
moving
ups,
from
you'll get the
there,
lower lats better too. If you're looking for that
yeah,
lower lat reach, and then the
you'll get more of an upper back development
yeah,
on the pull-ups. So, with that being said, let's talk a little bit more about just some basic mindset shifts for the maintenance phase, if you will, because I think a lot of it just comes down to how you lost the weight in the first place. And that's why I think that is why Mike and I promote and scream from the freaking rooftops to take care of yourself during the journey, because if you're not, the maintenance phase is impossible. It's absolutely impossible. I mean, it's
maintenance
like trying
shouldn't
to
look
recover from a
different.
battle.
Yeah, maintenance should not look much different from a weight loss journey. It's just a matter of maybe 300 to 500 calories.
Right.
That's it. So the lifestyle changes that you're building as you're losing weight should transition seamlessly to maintenance, because all you're really doing is adding some extra calories back into it and maintaining the weight rather than losing it. So if you are taking drastic measures to lose all of your weight and then you expect to go to maintenance and then just go back to like eating things in moderation or whatever, you're not going to stick to it because you don't know how to do it. You need to build that while you're losing the weight. And one of the things that you can do in that time is take maintenance breaks to prepare for it,
Mm-hmm.
which is taking an intentional break from your weight loss for about a month. You give a solid date, like a start and a finish, because you don't want it to be floating because you'll never go back. And you just purposefully maintain and you stay where you are. See what happens in it. Get used to it.
And something that Mike and I both say when we're talking about for people that are still trying to start their weight loss journeys. So you're starting at point A, right? Let's say point B is weight loss. Make point B as close to point A as humanly possible. We want to make the weight loss journey as close as possible to your normal life because we want to make it your normal life. We want this lifestyle to change to feel as little friction as possible. We want it to feel as smooth as possible. That's why we emphasize so much on asking yourself the hard questions, analyzing why we're here in the first place, and giving yourself, grace to just to fuck up, because you fuck up everywhere. I mean, people screw up all the time. It's going to happen. But instead of starting an entirely new lifestyle for this, I was just watching an episode of The Office today, actually, and it was Weight Loss Part 1 and Weight Loss Part 2. Those are the names of the episodes. They're great episodes. And the whole arc is about they're doing like this corporate challenge for the entire company to lose weight against the other branches, and everybody's starving themselves. There's a scene of a guy measuring out white rice on a food scale, like he's doing it with cocaine with his credit card, and it's just so funny. And then Kelly is doing a juice cleanse, and she's got like these giant dark bags under her eyes, and she's like, I haven't eaten in 4 days. And it's like, they literally say it in The Office, just like, you got to start eating again. Like, that's not how you're, like, they literally have to stop the challenge because of those reasons. And so guess what?
A great message.
They went all straight back to their old lifestyles, and nobody actually lost any weight in the grand scheme of things, except for Stanley, but Stanley was doing his own thing. But you have to make the weight loss journey as close as possible to the life you're living before the weight loss journey if you want to keep it off. You have a certain thing that you like to do. You have your habits. You have the things you enjoy doing. Let's keep doing those things. Just make a couple tiny little tweaks here and there. Lose the weight in the background. So then once the weight is gone, you can continue to still live your life the entire way through, instead of going on this 75 hard fucking crash diet and doing it for 3 weeks. Maybe you look great afterwards. I'd bet you $1 million you gain it back.
There's no provisions for day 76. That's the problem. They just cast you off. They're like, okay, you did it 75 hard. Guess what? Now it gets harder. Day 76 is the hardest one because now you have no direction anymore. There's nothing for it. None of those things can you really continue to do for the most part. I mean, unless you can cut out alcohol. All of you, stop doing it. It's a shit tier drug. It's awful.
That's the one thing that Mike and I would both agree on.
If
there is something to completely cut out, it's the liquor. Like, we can live without it.
It's not even fun. You've all just been gaslit into thinking it's fun. It's not. Who's like, oh yeah, we just had a great night drinking last night. No, it's people that don't want to get up, and then you have to order DoorDash. Like, what good thing do you have to fight with McDonald's?
I saw a quote, and it said, going out, this makes me sound super lame, going out is borrowing happiness from tomorrow.
Ooh. Well, it doesn't have to be that way.
No,
because you could go out and have a great time.
Drinking mindset.
It's not the drinking that makes it special. It should be the people. And if you have to drink to be around the people, then don't be around the people anymore. It's not special.
Somebody in the chat just said, I took a year to lose 60 pounds and I've kept it off. She was agreeing with us, talking about
solid rate of weight loss.
Keeping it very, very, very sustainable, keeping it as close to your lifestyle as possible. Sounds like she's done that. Not sure how to get the next 50.
Well, you did 60.
You're already more than halfway there.
When I hear that someone has lost a significant amount of weight and they don't know how to continue doing it, usually means that the first time they did it wasn't terribly sustainable and they don't want to go back to doing it that way. Because if that first way was fine, you could just go back to it. What was it that you were doing that was unsustainable that made you concerned about the progress coming forward?
I think that's really the biggest thing, is the two major talking points, or the two major things that you have to do to keep weight off after you lose a significant amount of weight. There's 30 pounds, 300 pounds. Number one, have a goal to work towards, whether it's big or small. Have something working towards even after you lose the weight, whether it's about a certain lift, a certain sport, whatever. Have something to work towards. And then number two would be, before you start, making sure that the weight loss journey is as close to your normal life as possible. It should not feel like an insanely steep change. If it feels like an insanely steep change, there's an issue. Those 2 points are probably the best ones. You would agree, yeah?
Yeah, I think so.
Having a goal to move towards and keeping it keeping it as close to your lifestyle as possible.
I think it's one of the reasons that people that lose a bunch of weight tend to gravitate towards putting on muscle, because we feel like we need a project. We feel like we need to continue doing something because it doesn't feel right to just not do something. And I think there are some people out there, just like sort of average people, who don't do anything. Like, they're not gaining or losing. They just kind of exist because they've got equilibrium programmed into their heads, which you and I are lacking severely. We have to think about that a lot. But I think those people at the same time, they're like, well, I'm equilibrium. So what does it matter if I get big or buff or anything? It doesn't matter. But we're not geared that way. I think a lot of the people who are listening to us right now are too not geared that way. They need a project. They need a challenge to work on. So maybe that's the gym. Maybe that's running. Maybe that's swimming. Whatever that is for you. Rock climbing, hiking. Find a thing. Pursue it.
You actually made a solid point there. Like, when you're on a weight loss journey, and let's say, however much money you lose, you burning the fat. Eventually, you kind of like run out of fat to burn. Like, I'm not saying you get down to like 2% body fat, but you're like, I don't want to lose any more fat. Like, this is cool. Then you're like, I got muscle to build,
Yeah.
muscle to build. It's like a natural pipeline. It's like a gateway drug. Weight loss is a gateway drug to getting jacked. Sorry, it is. So you run out of fat to lose. All right, I might as well just start gaining muscle, because that's also kind of back to what we were talking about earlier with the body recomposition. Body recomposition means both fat loss and muscle gain. It's changing the percentages within your body, how much body mass, like what your body mass is made up of. Is it made up of muscle? Is it made up of body fat? What kind of split is that? And to look better or feel more confident in your own skin 9 times out of 10, it means losing body fat and building muscle. So I think it's a gateway drug to getting jacked. So it doesn't hurt.
Also, real quick, let me just dispel this really quickly. Lose the fat first. Don't try to gain muscle and lose fat. You'll do both poorly for the most part. Now, that all being said, there are some studies that'll tell you that in the beginning of your newbie gains.
No.
But like,
go ahead. Yeah.
Well, how do you feel about it?
Oh, finish your thought first. I didn't mean to interrupt. I apologize.
No, you're good. I'll often say choose one or do both poorly. That being said, don't not lift. It's just you're not going to put on a very significant amount of muscle as you're losing weight, and you're generally going to put on fat when you're building muscle. Kind of tends to be how it goes. It is possible, though. It's not impossible. Just slow.
It is possible. It is slow. I view weightlifting as a part of weight loss. I view it as, I think resistance training and the gym is a part of weight loss. And there's a lot that goes into, I mean, obviously there's a bunch of psychological benefits, but literally you are training your body and you are getting stronger. You are building muscle. It does help bring out some of that positive body composition and see some of those physical changes a little bit faster if you are losing weight. So are you at maximum efficiency for muscle building during a weight loss journey or in a calorie deficit? No. But at the same time, I think it's almost I mean, not everybody has to. I have actually 2 or 3 clients that I've worked with that have lost somebody just crossed the 100-pound mark the other day. And somebody else just texted me as a former client. I think he's at the 90-pound mark. Both of them haven't touched the gym. They haven't touched the gym for their own specific reasons that I won't get into. But so it's not a requirement, but I view it as the strongest recommendation possible without making it a requirement, right? It's all about fitting it into your lifestyle, but I think it's something that everybody should try. Now, doesn't mean you'll be pumping iron powerlifting 5 days a week. Sometimes it just means a couple push-ups at home. Sometimes it means a Pilates class. Sometimes it means CrossFit, whatever. But some sort of resistance training has unbelievable benefits psychologically, unbelievable benefits health-wise, and longevity-wise as well. There are tons of studies coming out in 2023, 2022, 2024. I mean, even this entire decade, really. There's almost like every single study that I've seen is talking about how healthy it is to have more muscle mass going into your older age. And it sounds it's pretty basic to understand why. Having a more significant amount of muscle going into your 60s, 70s, and 80s makes your quality of life so much higher. And when you're in a calorie deficit, you talked about how doing two things poorly. I completely agree. But I view weightlifting as a part of the weight loss journey, because if we don't lose weight, there is a higher likelihood that we actually lose muscle.
That
We have
happened to me
both
badly.
lost muscle.
Badly. Well, part of it was because I was starving myself in large streaks of time. So
Same.
that'll play into it. Yeah, you're not necessarily going to burn muscle mass off like I did if you're in a reasonable calorie deficit and you're watching your protein.
If you
But
listen
I
to
was not
us
doing that.
and
Yeah.
don't do what we did, do as we say, not as we did.
Well, I'm always posting up my old pictures as a cautionary tale. I'll
Yeah.
tell people, like, make sure you're eating during this thing. I wish that I had found a love for lifting or doing push-ups or something like that, because I never did.
Mhm.
And I also did not find a love for myself until a long time into my journey. And because of that, I burned the lean mass clean off my body by starving myself. I autophagied myself to a skeleton. For
Mhm.
those of you who are about to be all mad about, fasting and autophagy and all that, shut the fuck up. All of you. Autophagy is happening. I don't often drop that word on the show, but
I got in trouble for dropping it.
but we don't have anyone who's going to stop us. Fuck autophagy. It's happening no matter what. You're not going to increase it. Anyone who's trying to sell you on like a metabolism drop or something and saying this will increase autophagy, the only thing you're going to lose is money from your wallet.
Mike and I have very similar beliefs on almost every single thing. We both get revved up a little bit more on certain topics. Mike absolutely despises fasters. He despises fasting.
It's so I know what it does.
I love it. I love
Yeah.
seeing you. I love seeing you revved up. It's amazing.
It's
For
'cause
those of you that do
it's not
not
often that it
understand what
happens.
autophagy, no, exactly. For those of you that don't understand what autophagy is, would you like to explain what autophagy is?
Bullshit to sell you on bullshit. That's all it is. There is some scientific backing to it. It's just basically, if you look at the studies, autophagy is happening no matter what. You can stunt it by starving yourself, or you can just be in a regular calorie deficit and it'll happen no matter what. It's just the process of your body getting rid of fat. That's it. And they put a fancy word on it because it's easier to sell you on a supplement when they put a fancy word on it. That's it.
For those of you that want just like a basic definition, it's essentially a natural breakdown of cells that it's kind of like cleaning your cells, from what I understand. I haven't really studied autophagy that much, full transparency, because I'm not really crazy into the fasting thing. I spend more of if I'm debunking, I'm usually debunking keto, to be honest with you.
Neither do the people that sell it. They don't know anything about it.
Yeah,
either.
it's really talking about, it's kind of like making your cells eat themselves, basically, from what I've heard people talk about it. It's like because auto means self and phagy means like devouring or eating. So it's basically self-eating. That's kind of what it breaks down into. And it's kind of what the science of it's like recycling cells in different senses, and people who get into fasting talk about it more. That's just like the basic rundown of it. I don't even... Shifting away from that,
a wise man once said, "Keep it simple."
Big
fella.
No, but shifting away from that, another reason that lifting is so important in the during and post, we talked about muscle loss being a huge deal. Most people think that weight loss is a marathon. They cross the finish line and then they're done. We both believe that having a basic resistance training, it's so good for you. Think about your ancestors, bro. They were getting up and hunting woolly mammoths. Like, they were jacked. They were ripped. We were hunting with spears for thousands of years, bro. Like, this is not, it's good for you. It's nature's medicine. But going into the science a little bit more, when we don't lift or have any sort of mechanical tension, which is basically just a scientific term for when we are lifting, that's what our muscles are undergoing, is mechanical tension. When there's no pressure or stress placed on those muscles for long periods of time, they naturally, over time, will catabolize, which is essentially start eating each other out. They will start eating themselves away. They will start shrinking. Okay. So you will start losing muscle mass. That's what catabolism is. And that's why when you see older folks that are, working with personal trainers in their 80s and 90s, because they're trying to maintain what muscle mass they have. Okay. I used to work with a ton of senior clients. I still actually work with one guy that I know personally I actually still see him once a week in person for fun. I don't coach all my coaching clients are all online, but I go work with him once a week just because I enjoy talking to him. I enjoy working with him. He went through a couple different things, different operations, but he talks a lot about how he's lost a ton of muscle over time. That is super duper common. So if you want to live a healthier, longer, higher quality of life to where you're not worrying about a bad hip, a bad ankle, a bad back, whatever, lifting now will increase that longevity and increase that quality of life so much more by having more muscle mass, because your body, once you kind of stop lifting for good, which I don't think ever should happen, but most people usually have a point where they're just kind of done with it and that's whatever. That catabolizing of the muscles starts happening and it starts slowly just like getting eaten at, and it gets eaten away slowly over time. Naturally, that's how all human bodies work. So just keep that in mind. This isn't just for looks. If you're like, I don't give a crap how I look, that's fine. But keep in mind, this is not just for how we look. This is also for increasing our qualities of life.
There was a period of time where I could not bend over to pick things up. I had to find a midway point. I had to find something I could sit on from top to bottom. I was 23 years old. It was happening then that it was trouble. Now I'm 30. I can bend over and pick things up no problem. It doesn't cause me any issues. But like, I'm lucky in the sense that right now I can do something to reverse that. It might come to a point years from now where, if I had allowed my body to just kind of not do that, it would take a lot longer and it would take a lot more effort for me to get to a point where that was possible. So that's also not to say that if you're older that you shouldn't try. Like I was saying before about my chest, I don't know if I just genetically speaking, it's kind of just not there. Stuff's happening. If you look at old pictures of me compared to now, there's a little bit of definition. Had I not tried, it wouldn't have been there. My lifts are going up. I've got strength now.
Audience, this is not for you. This is directly from Mike. Boy, if you don't shut the hell up, you just talked about your shirts literally filling out in your chest in the videos that you're talking about. If you don't stop self-deprecating, I'm about to punch you through this fucking webcam.
And that takes what? A lot of strength that you've built up over time. Years ago, the punch may not have been very strong, but now it's strong enough to come right through the screen and to my face where it belongs.
All I know is the first lift that he and I have together is going to go crazy.
It's going to be pretty sick.
I think we should hit legs.
We got to figure that out.
I think we should hit a high-intensity 3 exercise leg day.
Oh, I don't think I've done 3 leg days this year.
Hamstring curls, quad bias leg press, supersetted with probably like some body squats at the or lunges to finish.
My legs are objectively catabolic at this point. I need you to whip me into shape, because otherwise I'm just going to have this like ripped upper body and then I won't be able to carry it with my legs anymore.
A mansion on stilts.
Tiny little chicken. They're kind of around that skinny at this point, but
all right, gang. Well, Mike and I have some work to do on a not-so-secret project, and we've been yapping for about 45 minutes. Today was pretty chill. I think the fact that we recorded this later kind of just let us have a little bit more of a conversational side to it. Let me know what you guys like better, if you like us to stay more tried and true to the topic that week, or if you like us to kind of go off on our little riffs and our conversations. We just kind of let things flow. But if there is an overwhelming majority of, one way or another, one style or another that you guys enjoy, let us know. But I think this was a solid episode. To summarize, Mike, what do you think are some of the most important tenets that we talked about today as far as maintenance?
One of the things that I will tell my clients, I'll tell my viewers, I'll tell everybody, maintenance needs to be similar to your weight loss journey. If you are taking big swings, you're going to take big misses. You're going to take big falls. Make sure that what you're doing when you do it small. Implement small changes over time so that it doesn't feel like a big change. You want it to feel like a small change, so that at a certain point you've made 1,000 little changes and you don't know at what point you changed, because there wasn't a single point that you changed. That's kind of how your journey should always be.
It's kind of like growing up, if you think about it. You didn't go from first grade to senior in high school with one change. It was a bunch of
No.
tiny changes as you got older and as you matured. You changed tiny little things about how you thought, how you acted, how you spoke, how you dressed, who you hung out with. All these tiny little changes happen over a very long period of time. And weight loss should be the same way. You should really spend the first couple months taking very minor changes and making sure you know what the hell you're doing. It's don't walk into this thing blind. Learn what it should look like. Take the time to understand what habits you should implement them slowly. Make sure you can stick to it. Ask yourself why or why not you are sticking to it. And then once it's done, it shouldn't feel like that much work. I always talk about the difference between cutting and bulking lifestyle wise is about 500 calories.
It's in either
and
direction.
Mike said the exact same thing in a different, basically in slightly different verbiage. So at the end of the day, have something to work towards and realize that it shouldn't feel like that drastic of a change. I mean, my lifestyle, as far as my fitness and nutrition goes, outside of like different focuses for training, which is just like me running and lifting a little bit more, but overall, my focus in my lifestyle hasn't really changed fitness wise in years. And I don't think Mike would say anything different. Pupper.
Just got my earbud knocked out. Any parting words this week? Because I've got some parting words. I always try to leave a little bit of extra advice at the end of it.
Words.
My parting words: if anyone tells you to starve yourself, tell them to eat your ass. Be kind to yourself.
Keep it simple, big fella.